Video number 106 from MythoReligio series book 4. Dragons or Dinosaurs, Part 1. The Sirrush of Babylon. Dear fellow truth seekers, in the last two videos I have shared information about several ancient artifacts that seem to prove that civilized humans have existed much longer than what historians have been telling us. According to the theory of evolution, modern human, i.e. Homo sapiens, only appeared in Africa around 200,000 or maximum 300,000 years ago. And yet, we actually found man-made artifacts that are already millions and even billions years old. But they have been ignored by mainstream academics because they do not fit with the conventional historical timeline. If all the previous information that I've shared with you in the previous videos is still not enough to come to the conclusion that civilized human beings have been living on our planet much longer than merely circa 6,000 years ago, probably millions or even billions years ago, let's have a look at the following evidence in artifacts and literatures concerning dragons or dinosaurs. Up from this video onwards, this channel is starting a new playlist about dragons and dinosaurs. Almost all, if not all nations in the world have stories about dragons. Today we consider dragons or giant serpents or gigantic reptilians as legendary mythical creatures. In other words, they never really existed. But is it so? Isn't it odd that so many nations in the world have stories about dragons? If they never really existed, they must have been invented by the imagination of our ancestors. How did our ancestors from different parts of the world imagine the same creature? Or did they actually see the same real living creature? Today, every educated child knows about dinosaurs, i.e. gigantic reptilians that have extinct around 65 million years ago. Wait a minute. Dragons and dinosaurs are both gigantic reptilians. Why do we accept dinosaurs as real living beasts but not dragons? We are told to believe that dinosaurs really existed because until today we can still see their remnants in the form of fossils. So they must have existed. But what if they are actually one and the same creature? Don't you think it is odd how the first few scientists who found the fossils of dinosaurs didn't even think that this would be the case? Imagine this scenario. You have been told stories about dragons, i.e. giant reptiles, since you were a child, but no one has ever found their fossils. Then one day, suddenly you discover a fossil of a giant reptile. Wouldn't you then remember what you've heard since you were little and think that the fossil must have been the fossil of the dragons of your childhood stories? That would be the logical approach, don't you think? However, as many other cases, like the age of the Sumerian kings, the age of humanity, the age of many ancient stone megaliths, etc., scientists say the fossils of the giant reptiles, which were then named dinosaurs, could not have been the same as the dragons that are mentioned by our ancestors, because supposedly dinosaurs were already extinct 65 million years ago, and men, i.e. Homo sapiens, supposedly only appeared 200,000 years ago. The more I study, the more I see how many scientific theories are actually bent to fit the preconceived idea, especially in the case of evolution theory. Do you begin to see that too? Scientists have been rejecting many proofs, be they in fossil records, carbon dating results, etc., that are not in accordance with their preconceived ideas. But is it true that our ancient ancestors were really ignorant, disillusioned liars who can't tell what is real and what is not? Anyway, before doing a research concerning dinosaurs, I didn't think that they might be the same creatures as the dragons that I was already familiar with since I was a child, because I was so much used to the teaching that humans only appeared long after dinosaurs were extinct. So, I was really shocked to learn that, as it turns out, there is plenty of evidence that men and dinosaurs actually interacted. The evidence is recorded in the form of art, literature, and artifacts. There are so many artifacts that prove men and dinosaurs coexisted. How else do we explain the representation in art, literature, or artifacts of recognizable species of dinosaurs by ancient men who supposedly had never seen one alive? Yes, perhaps like us today, our ancient ancestors had merely come across the fossils. Surely they would not have the necessary skills to assemble them, to draw them, or describe them as in real life. Even our modern scientists have occasionally placed the wrong heads on skeletons or combined the bones of more than one specimen. If our ancestors have truly coexisted with dinosaurs, why don't they tell us about them? Well, they did, many, many times. They just called with different names. The English call them dragons. Chinese and the Japanese call them lung. The Indians call them naga. The Scandinavians even had species names for them, including, apparently, the Tyrannosaurus rex. Large creatures with reptilian characteristics, some flying, some two-legged, some four-legged, some marine, appear in the art, sculpture, literature, chronicles, and legends of virtually every culture in world history. But none of them were called dinosaurs, because the word was only coined in 1842 by Sir Richard Owen. The word dinosaur means fearful great lizard. In Greek, Deinos means fearfully great, and Sauros means a lizard. That is exactly what the dragon is, isn't it? There is so much evidence in artifacts, literature, and art that prove that men must have coexisted with dinosaurs, but I will only select and share several of them with you. Dragon dinosaur artifacts. The first suspicion by a real scientist that what we call dinosaurs today might be the one and same mythical creature known as dragons probably began with the rediscovery of ancient Babylon, located in modern Iraq today, by a German architect and practicing archaeologist Robert Caldaway, 1855–1925. Among the excavations is the beautiful fabled Ishtar Gate. This gate was the 8th gate to the inner city of Babylon. It was constructed in about 575 BCE by the order of King Nebuchadnezzar II. The gate was constructed using rare blue stone called lapis lazuli and was dedicated to the goddess Ishtar. It was lined with walls covered in lions-on glazed bricks, while both sides of the gate itself are decorated with alternating rows of bas-reliefs that depict two types of animals: aurochs, a type of large wild cattle which inhabited Europe, Asia, and North Africa, which is now extinct, survived in Europe until 1627, and an animal that could not be identified. Caldaway was startled when studying the bas-relief. The following text is extracted from Genes, Giant, Monsters, and Men by Joseph Farrell. The picture, or rather bas-relief, that was causing the good Professor Caldaway such grief was this: the middle animal on either side of the Ishtar Gate of Babylon, the reconstruction of which is shown below or in this video. Note: the top and bottom, or left and right reliefs, like so many other reliefs in Babylonian and Assyrian artwork, are of fairly conventional looking cattle, or other very ordinary animals. But this was not Professor Caldaway's problem. The problem is the middle relief, appearing as it does between two very normal looking bulls. And a close-up of the left side will reveal the problem. While the head of this creature, whatever it is obscured somewhat in the photo, the feet alone should tell us, as they told Caldaway, that we have a problem. For the front paws look somewhat like the paws of a large feline, while the rear claws look everything like the claws of some gigantic bird. As if that were not enough, there is a long spiraling tail, a long thin body that appears to be feathered or scaled. And topping it all off was the head of a dragon or serpent of some sort. However, the problem for Koldewey was not that the Babylonians had given full freedom to their artistic flights of fancy. The problem was that they apparently had not, for the creature known as a Sirrush appeared right in the middle of other creatures known as aurochs that was self-evidently real. And though they were now extinct as well, they were not extinct in Babylonian times. The problem was the very real context in which the otherwise fantastic and bizarre Sirrush appeared. But that wasn't the only problem. Koldewey wrote, "A creation of another, essentially different type confronts us in the dragon. This is the Sirrush of legend, or as it is often referred to today, the Mushrushu, which the lead renders as splendid serpent. A slender body, a wavy lined tail, a similar steep, solemn, slender neck with its small scale-covered head, stands out better in color reproduction. The scaly attire shows itself on the hind legs downward to the middle of the shins. One observes larger diagonal scales on the abdomen. The forelegs resemble those of a long-legged type of cat, perhaps a panther. The hind feet are those of a bird of prey. On the end of the tail one can observe a curved quill as in a scorpion. The head is entirely that of a snake with a closed mouth from which a forked tongue protrudes. It also bears a large upright prominent horn from which an appendage spirals or curls out. Behind the whiskers, a tuft of 3 locks of hair falls, pictured as 3 long spiraling locks. This strange animal, with the above enumerated features, as per Jastro's picture portfolio of the religion of Babylon and Assyria, was found in the oldest Babylonian art and preserved these features unchanged for millennia. Thus one may not say that it is a fantastic production, a chimerical picture of Babylonian Assyrian art. Thus Ishtar Tor, The Gate of Ishtar, Robert Koldewey. Koldewey attempted to rationalize the creature's strange appearance by various comparisons to the feature of known dinosaurs, and concluded, somewhat less convincingly, that when one finds a picture such as our Sirrush in nature, one must reckon it as belonging to the order of dinosaurs and indeed of the suborder of ornithopods. However, one would be hard-pressed to find dinosaurs with the forelegs of a cat, the hind legs of birds of prey, with spiraling tails and scorpions' quills, and snakes' heads growing horns, all in one fantastic creature. Koldewey proposed one dinosaur, the Iguanodon, which did indeed have hind feet similar to a bird, as being a close match to the Sirrush. Koldewey's study has opened many people's eyes, and many other authors, especially among Christian creationists today, to continue this dragon dinosaur research in order to prove the validity of the Bible, which contains several stories concerning dragons. And the further research is done, lo and behold, the more mind-blowing is the result. Amazingly, there is so much evidence proving Koldewey had been right all along. Among the many Christian websites concerning this topic, I found one which probably has the most convincing images in order to support Koldewey's theory, that is, saint.com. Kindly visit the website yourself to see the massive collection of amazing images. Now let's go back to the Sirrush of Koldewey. Here are the fossil and an artist's illustration of Iguanodon. And as you can see, the comparison of Sirrush with Iguanodon is somewhat not very convincing. Thus, it has been proposed that maybe the Babylonians were trying to describe another species of dinosaur called Massospondylus. Even more surprising, actually, this kind of slender, scaly dragon was not only depicted solely by the Babylonians, but also by the Chinese. Now, Here is a statue of a dragon during the Chinese Tang dynasty. Here is another depiction of the same creature, Sirrush or Mushrushu, together with the Babylonian god Marduk and Zuzudra, the Sumerian Noah on the same dragon boat. Look at the similarity between the pictures of the red gold dragon from the Tang dynasty and the Sirrush of the Gate of Ishtar. Is it possible that both the Babylonians and the Chinese were actually depicting a genus of dinosaur called Massospondylus? Massospondylus was an early herbivore about 13 feet, circa 4 meters long, and 3 feet, circa 1 meter tall. It had a long neck, very long tail, a small head, peg-like teeth, and large 5-fingered hands with a large thumb claw. Massospondylus lived about 205 to 194 million years ago, during the early Jurassic period. The difference is the scale on the body. But what makes our scientists so sure that it is not more like fish scales just as the Chinese and Babylonians depicted them, if we only base the illustration from fossilized skeleton? Let's say we have never seen a real-life tiger or a peacock, then we found their fossilized skeletons. Do you think we could depict the real tiger or peacock accurately based from the skeleton alone? I don't think so. How could we know how the outer body looks like? How could we guess the yellowish-black striped fur of tigers or the colorful peacock feather? This fact is taught to children when learning about dinosaurs. No one knows exactly what colors or patterns most of the dinosaurs were. Fossilized skin impressions have only been found for a small fraction of the known dinosaurs. Not much is known about dinosaur skin, and there is some debate among paleontologists about this topic. Reference www.enchantedlearning.com. So, modern artists depict Massospondylus as having leathery kind of skin. Meanwhile, ancient Babylonians and ancient Chinese depict them as having scaled skin. We can say with 100% conviction that our modern artist depiction is based on guesswork, right? That is because we know they have never seen this animal alive. Now, the fact that two different groups of people, the ancient Babylonians and the ancient Chinese, separated miles apart from one another, depicted this creature as scaled skin should be a proof that most likely they have seen the real animal. Don't you think? Both the Babylonians and the Chinese dragons are also depicted as having a single horn, which makes them look somehow more mythical. Again, since both these ancient people depicted the same mythical thing, is another proof that they have seen the real creature and they know what they are depicting. So, most likely it is we, modern men, who got it wrong, because probably the fossils that we found are not complete. On top of that, we actually do found fossils of dinosaur with unihorn, such as Syntosaurus. Syntosaurus is a genus of hadrosaur dinosaur found in China. It was about 10 meters or 33 feet long, 3.6 meters or 12 feet tall, and weighed 3 tons. Syntosaurus had a characteristic duckbill snout and a battery of powerful teeth which it used to chew vegetation. Syntosaurus is typically reconstructed with a unicorn-like crest on its skull. For one to imagine a dragon with duckbill and a horn, one must have a vast stretch of imagination, don't you think? Now here's the crazy thing. The Thracians, an ancient group of Indo-European tribe who inhabited southeastern Europe, actually has helmet, which is decorated with strange-looking dragon with duckbill and a horn. What are they actually depicting? Look at it closely. That's not a horse. Look at the single horn and the weird-looking mouth. It surely looks like what we call today Syntosaurus, don't you think? Is this a coincidence? Most likely not. Dear fellow truth seekers, there are still many more proof that dragons are the same as dinosaurs. and we will learn about them in the next video. For now, I thank you for watching and hope to see you on my next video.